It's a crowded, ADD-riddled brain, and it's a mess up there. One of the things that has been bouncing around in my head all day is this astronaut story. Did you hear about this? When did NASA lose control of our astronauts? Lisa Noack, she was 220 miles above Earth. This is about a month ago. She was completing her mission on the International Space Station. Today, she finds herself charged with attempted murder. Apparently, re-entry into life on this planet been a little tricky for her. Seems this woman, who is a married mother of 3, allegedly involved in a love triangle with a fellow astronaut, Commander William O'Flynn, who is unmarried but purportedly seeing a less insane Air Force engineer, not the crazy astronaut. Well, the crazy astronaut decides to confront the woman she believes was trying to steal her man. Trouble is, she decided to do this while wearing a disguise and armed with a BB gun, pepper spray, a steel mallet, a 4-inch folding knife, rubber tubing, and a bunch of garbage bags. A disguise? Yeah, actually it was a wig, dark glasses, and a trench coat. I mean, not exactly Jane Bond. It's like a bad episode from Columbo. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Any story that begins with a woman in a wig toting a mallet and garbage bags, this one's not going to end well, is it, Glenn? No. It actually does, but there's more. Before touching down in Orlando to talk to her, a romantic rival, Captain Lisa, had to rocket her way from Houston, making the 900-mile trip nonstop. So, of course, to make that without any rest stops, she had to, she did what any of us would do. Wear diapers. Hello? The story could have a much more tragic ending, but fortunate police were called in time and no one was hurt. However, this has called into questions, the nature of some of the relationships there in NASA and the mental health of those that were rocketing up into space. Eben Brown is a reporter at News Radio 970 WFLA in Tampa. He's been following the story closely, which is still developing this evening. Eben, earlier today, they were going to release her on like $15,000 bail, and then they held her back. Why did they hold her back?
Well, Glenn, the initial charges were just first-degree, I think, attempted kidnapping and some other associated charges. After the judge agreed to let her go on $15,000 bond, some of those charges she was going to be ROR, released on her own recognizance. She'd have to wear a monitoring device. As she was being escorted out of the courthouse, Orlando police come by and say, "No, wait a second, we're also going to charge you first-degree attempted murder, and we're putting you back in jail."
And why is that? Is that just because she had the big knife, the rubber tubing, the mallet, and the garbage bags?
Yeah, they're putting, A and B together here and trying to figure it all out. What is it that she could have done or possibly have done or may have wanted to have done, and they figured, let's just do this right now.
Eben, do you know, is this the first astronaut crime that we've had in the space program?
It's certainly the first that I've heard of. She, I believe, is the first astronaut to be arrested, to be charged with a crime such as this, to be publicly involved in a love triangle of such sorts. So this is kind of shocking the Florida space community for.
I bet it is. I mean, I remember growing up. Now I'm 40. I don't even know what I am. 42, 43 years old, and I remember growing up, and the big phrase was, "What are you? You a rocket scientist?" For me, it was always, "He's no rocket scientist. He's not an astronaut." When did we lower our standards? When did we stop doing psychological profiles on people before we launched them up to the International Space Station?
Well, this is confusing a lot of people. This woman, Lisa Marie Noack, she's a naval captain. That's the equivalent to an Army or Marine bird colonel. She's a very high-ranking officer. Her only superiors in the military are generals and admirals. So this is not someone, this is someone who's had a lot of schooling, who's kind of considered the academic best of the best, to get into the space program. So a lot of people are going, what?
I would imagine that. I mean, hey, I'm not a rocket scientist, but I am a thinker. I would imagine that a crazy person up on the International Space Station could cause a few problems for everybody involved. Is there any kind of, do we know anything at this point about her history? Were there any signs that this woman was as unstable as she appears to be?
Well, some of her other astronauts that worked with her at NASA have spoken up, and they've said that, you know, they're completely perplexed by this. One astronaut said perplexed was the word that he wanted to use, and didn't want to say anything past that. So this is coming to a surprise to a lot of people over at NASA, both in Florida and Texas.
I wonder if she's going to end up in rehab, like everybody seems to be ending up here lately. What's next for the other two involved? Quickly.
Well, so far we really don't know. We know the victim, the other woman, is going to be in some sort of protective custody or have some sort of police protection for now. And there hasn't been any talk of what the man involved may or may not be facing, or if any involvement he's had. However, we should also know that we are talking about people in the military here, and the Uniform Code of Military Justice may be applicable. She may be facing other charges in the military.
That's craziness. Evan, thanks a lot. Now, coming up next, why some people have a problem, get this, with a cross in a chapel. World's upside down. Back in a minute.